Chuck Grigsby. We are back at it on the King Project. Thank you so much for giving me another opportunity to share with you Dr. King and some of his great work and legacy. We've been doing this for the whole month of October 2017, and I really appreciate everyone that's been supporting us and really allowing me to give my little spin on a lot of that great legacy and work from Dr. Martin Luther King. Today, I really wanted to talk about the power duo of Dr. King, and that was really Robert Abernathy that he met, another fellow Baptist minister, and they were able to do a lot of courageous work together, a lot of change for our history, and I really wanted to highlight some different things about Robert Abernathy and just give you guys a perspective on, his best friend, and how they say that saying that you are who you hang around with. So here's a little background about Robert Abernathy. His father was the first person in the county to vote in Marengo County, Alabama, and then he also was the first person on the grand jury for Alabama. So definitely he had the pedigree. His father, had the pedigree, and Robert Abernathy certainly went on to do some different things, and much like Dr. King and his father's legacy, being a Baptist minister in the Deep South. He was attending Linden Academy, where he led his first demonstration, and that was really a nonviolent demonstration to really improve the science lab of the place that he was attending. I know he went on to, as a sophomore at Alabama State University, he was the president of the school council, and he led a hunger strike for better food being served at the school. So you can see really a lot of the commonalities and a lot of different things that Dr. King probably really admired from Robert Abernathy, as far as kind of some of the things he had did before they had met. In 1948, he became an ordained minister. His family was a heavy Baptist ministered family. They really were devout in their ministry. So he naturally became a minister, it seems like. He also was the first African American to be on live radio in Montgomery in 1950. In 1951, he ended up being the dean of Alabama State University, dean of men, if you will. And then 3 years after that is when he officially, I believe, met Dr. King, and they really hit it off. As you now know, they went on to do a lot of great things as history presents itself. 1 year later, after meeting and collaborating and really kind of getting it together, they were involved in the Montgomery Bus Boycott, and that actual program or actual title they had was called the Montgomery Improvement Association, not the Southern Christian Leadership Conference that was later on to be identified with both those two men. So that group was MIA, if you will, is what they were called, and that was really the first official organizational title that they had with that boycott in Montgomery. So I thought that was interesting to kind of find that out. Robert Abernathy's house was bombed in 1957, possibly with his involvement with Dr. King in the Montgomery bus boycott. He also served as the president he also served as the financial secretary of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, as well as Dr. King being the president. So they were, again, hand in hand, tied to the hip when it came to a lot of different things. Every single picture you see Dr. King with someone, Robert Abernathy is usually right there or right in the background, involved with that picture and involved with that change. And it was just really someone that I think that Dr. King really learned a lot from. I think he's someone that Dr. King really found encouragement when it came to doing some of the different things that had never been done before in our history. The ominous things about and some of the different things that Robert Abernathy is known is, one, it starts with his eloquent complimentary description of Dr. King the night before he was assassinated, and Dr. King says himself, as I listened to R.A. Robert Abernathy and his eloquent and generous introduction, and then thought about myself, I wondered who he was talking about. It's always good to have your closest friend and associate to say something good about you, and Ralph Abernathy is the best friend that I could have in the world, end quote. So Dr. King had said that and then gave his famous speech, I've been to the mountaintop speech that night. And it was, I think, really ominous, if you will, because I don't believe that I ever could find any other time that Dr. King really mentioned the fact that Robert Abernathy was so generous in his complimentary nature when it comes to introducing him and And this was really a time that Dr. King was really moving into a different direction, going from civil rights to human rights, with the Poor People's Campaign coming up and going into different directions. And I know there was a lot of dissent within the leadership of the conference. And so, I just really thought that was something that stuck out in my mind for some reason. He did, after Dr. King was assassinated. Let me go back. As Dr. King was being assassinated, Robert Anthony was with him as well. But for that quick moment that the gun rang out, Robert Anthony is quoted that he went in and grabbed some cologne he wanted to wear or have on, and then he came back, heard a gunshot, came back, and then was involved with the assassination as far as trying to help Dr. King get to his medical providers. After the fact, Dr. King was assassinated. Robert Anthony actually did lead the Poor People's Campaign. He did take leadership of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. They were able to mobilize, I think, 3,000 people on a 6-week campaign in Washington, D.C. And it was a very multicultural event that was going on, and they were able to kind of do that again for about 6 weeks. Some tidbits, though. For that Poor People's Campaign, there were 2,000 soldiers that were mobilized for the potential threat of violence, just in case it got out of control. The first thing he did was speak on world peace in 1971. He really took part in the labor struggle on behalf of Dr. King, and he did that with some different causes. He was involved with the Charles of South Carolina hospital workers issue that they had going on there. And then subsequently in 1977, he resigned from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference to be president of Emerist, or Emeritus. And from what I understand what that is, that was a body of certifications for schools, I believe. But I wasn't quite sure to kind of really find out what that was really all about. He did have an unsuccessful run for politics, which was totally against what the Southern Christian Leadership Conference was really established by. They did not want to be a part of the political process. Dr. King felt like he needed to be the moral conscience of the politicians. He founded a nonprofit called FEED, F-E-E-D, and that was really funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. In 1980, he endorsed Ronald Reagan just to withdraw in 1984. And then, what Robert Anthony unfortunately is most known for is his book called And the Walls Come Tumbling Down that was written and released in 1989, which really highlights really their whole duo team, but it also does bring up some things about Dr. King that a lot of people really criticized him for, and about some extramarital behavior the night before he was assassinated, the same day that he gave this complimentary, eloquent review of Dr. King before he gave his speech. And, that's really mostly what he's known for. And it kind of seems like that Robert Anthony really had some aspirations, but really did not have the charisma, didn't have the leadership, didn't have the people behind him in order to really continue to really make major changes, in my personal opinion, in our history, and really continue some of the different things that Dr. King would accomplish. And I just thought I'd just bring that up to you. A lot of people don't know who Robert Anthony is or really know the details about him, and I thought that was interesting to bring up and find things that I found out and really make some clarity to a lot of some great things that they did together, and really address some of the criticism that he did get from his book. This is Chuck Grigsby, G-Unity Worldwide. Thank you so much for another opportunity to share Dr. King and his great work and legacy. And we will be coming here for the rest of the month of October with the King Project. Take care so much.